board.
You all heard the speech of the Rebbe just now. And we all understand that it's a very special day, very special time. It's 35 years since the day the Rebbe said the Sikha. And we work on the Sikha of simple things that we should get together and try to see what can we do to bring Moshiach now. To start with, tonight we have the honor of Rebbe Choshen Gemar, Choshen Melamdim, Lרגל הרב Avraham, Chaim, הכהן, will give us some insights to learning the secrets of the Rebbe connected to that day. I'd like everybody to come sit around the table, and there's a secret right here. הכהן, בבקשה.
ברשות הרב. Rav Zalmanov called me 2 days ago. I was already in Cheder, and Rav Zalmanov asked that I should give the shiur of Koyach ניסן. We do the shiur every Sunday night, but to give the shiur of Koyach ניסן, wie man sagt auf Yiddish, als ein Stock in Fisch, ist in Goycha Fisch, aber ein Mesarvin legodel. Rav Zalmanov hat gebeten, ist Milse de Bdichuse, mis menoyek zere, ohne mit der Milse de Bdichuse. Gleich, noch was sie gewinnt, gleich vor Meiriv, noch die Siche is they say that once one of the Mashpim was walking by next to a certain place where there was a lot of dancing and music, aber es nicht gewinnt, wasn't exactly a chassidische Verbringung, it was something else. So he said, auf Yiddish sagt man something like, sie ist zeitlach, aber sie fortfreilach. It's not exactly something that it's for us, but it's just to remind us Dasein besimche. So the first Sikha b'Hashgacha Pratis that we're going to look through today, a certain part of a Sikha, is a Sikha that the Rebbe said 2 days before that famous Sikha, the Sikha Yedua, the way the Rebbe calls it, Sikha Yedua, the Sikha of Koyach ניסן. So in this page we have a copy here, where the Rebbe says actually that we should go out and dancing, not zachnit shemen, not to be embarrassed of going out and dancing. So we're going to read some parts here on page 9. We're going to start with the first paragraph and then skip 2 paragraphs and go to the next. V'yehi rotzen, says the Rebbe went on, my name was never mentioned in a Sikha, but Saddam, in this Sikha, Saddam Hussein, his name is actually mentioned twice in this Sikha. Yes, page 9 on the back. That's the dritte. So the Rebbe says, the Rebbe speaks up how the Rebbe compares it very much to the way we went out of Mitzrayim, that they had, back then they had Lamaki Mitzrayim b'Choreiim, that the B'chorim of the Mitzrayim were fighting against their fathers, asking them to let the Yidden go, and then there was, similar to that, there was also now when all the nations came together to fight Saddam and have him release lots of things, many things of which people didn't even know that he has them, and they made him pay back for all the damages that he did, and there was no, like he wasn't fighting it back, he was cooperating. So the Rebbe brings it and asks us and begs us to open our eyes and push it. So we're going to see here this page, V'yehi rotzen. As the Rebbe soll helfen, jeder Yid, as oben die Einayim lirois, ubemele oznaim lishmoya und lev lo das. The Rebbe said Hashem should give us, we should be able to have the eyes to be able to see properly, the ears to hear and realize, and lev lo das, to see hamasois agdolos asher rou einecho, the big miracles, the great things that our eyes saw by ourselves. This is right after the war, the Gulf War finished. The great miracles that are happening every single day, because the Rebbe says that every day we see more development in how it's playing out. We'll skip the next 2 paragraphs, go to second to last paragraph on the right side. The Rebbe says some people might not yet see it, might not yet see the Nisim. So a little bit of explanation would be enough. If you have to explain to someone, we didn't put it all together, the pieces, to realize that there's great nisim happening here. kommt es on auf den leichten Öfen, it's going to be very easy to convince and explain, show to someone that there is great nisim happening, bedarke noyim, bedarke shalom, besumach betuv levovsi, genug, meselem ein mol moira sein of them, you can just point it out to someone. We see today the pictures in Tzfas, you see a picture of a missile, like long like this shoe, this room, and happened a month ago, and you see kids are standing, and the miracles that we saw in our eyes just now, so it's all very similar to what's happening now. Wir rotzen, als man soll nicht davon reden und erzählen, einer dem Zweiten wegen den Nisim, we shouldn't have to tell each other about the Nisim, warum jeder wird sehen, jeder wird und sieht es, begoli, everyone sees it clearly, mare be'etzboi voimer zeh, und is makir moidel Hashem with the Nisim, everyone recognizes and sees by himself and thanks the Eibishter for the Nisim, bees. The Rebbe says, well, we should dance for it. Bis also schämt sich nicht zu herausgehen in Arikud zu Lidbenissim Gluim. He's not embarrassed to go out and dance for the open miracles, warum redt sich nicht ein, als es nicht da was zu tanzen und stürmen auf den Nissim, was der Rebbe beweist. He's not convincing himself that it's not no big deal. No, Adrabe, kommt zu der Akoras Emes Lamito, that he comes and he's recognizing first, as the Rebbe beweist Nissim Gluim, it's open miracles, and the second thing, as medarf of them sein, the Simcha Gdoila. So Bashgoch Epot is this dancing is just in time. The Sikha of Koyach Nissen, we have here, Rabbi Zalman of the copies, the Sikha of Koyach Nissen. Huh? Yeah, okay. The Sikha of Koyach Nissen, the Rebbe was going in great arichus, explaining how special the time is. The Rebbe went on to explain the year, Arenu Niflois Arenu. The Rebbe explained the specialty of the year, and then the Rebbe went on in many ways explaining how the month was special, Chodesh Nisan, and so on and so forth. So, on page 12, the first page here, we'll start on the left column, the second paragraph. V'asbore bazeh. The Rebbe explains the year Niflois Arenu and Arenu Niflois. The Rebbe says that when we write a document, a shtar, we have to write it first. First we write the tens and then the singles. So we write the nun and then the aleph. So it's Niflois Arenu. But in the actual, in Posik, the way it brings down in the Posik, it says Kemetz Yisrael Me'eretz Mitzrayim Arenu Niflois. First the aleph and then the nun. The Rebbe will explain the difference of what that means. V'asbore bazeh Niflois. What is Niflois? Niflois Yecholim Liyos Gam Bo'efim Sheinam Nirim Begolui. Sometimes we can have some wonders, real wonders that we're not seeing them. K'mayim Razal Sheyeshnam Nisim She'afilu Ba'al Hanes Einay Makir B'nisoi. Some miracles are in such a way and so great that the person doesn't see, and for sure other people don't recognize it's a nes. But he had a great nes. Niflois that are higher than nisim. Niflois are wonders that are higher than just nisim, regular miracles. Sometimes the nisim, the niflois are so great that there's no way we can see it on our own. It says, being at such great niflois, hu levadoi, yodea shu nes, only the Eibishter himself sees the nes, aval bala nes, the person that happened to him, eino makir beniso, he doesn't see the nes of it. I think I heard J.J. Hecht, Vasham, saying that the Frierdiker Rebbe once said, that the way we read the pasuk is loisei niflois, that the Eibishter makes niflois, he makes wonders, but gdoilois, those that are very big wonders, levada, it's only him who sees recognizes the nes. So that's niflois. Niflois is our wonders that we're not able to see it. So then comes harenu. Harenu is what the Eibishter says, I'll show it to you. Va'isofed harenu, שהנפלויס נראים בגולי בריאה מוכשס לעיני בוסו, כיוון שהקדוש ברוך הוא מראה הנפלויס, the Eibishter is showing us the wonders, not that it's a smaller thing, but rather it is a big thing, and great miracles, but the Eibishter is showing it to us. כלומר, ריאס הנפלויס היא לא בגלל שאינם נפלויס גדולס חס ושלום, but rather it's the ishtadlus of the isaskus of the הקדוש ברוך הוא בכבודו ועצמוי, the Eibishter comes to show us that it's a great miracle. We'll go to the next page, page 13, the second paragraph. And then the Rebbe, before that, the Rebbe says that it says in the Pasuk, Arenu, not Arekok. Arenu is Loshen Nister. Areko means direct, I'll show you. When we say Arenu, Loshen Nister, in Dikduk, it means something Nister to show that it's something that is really hidden and a higher level of miracles. ובזה גופה בייס דורים. Now there is two ways how we can have niflois arenu or arenu niflois. Says the Rebbe, what is the difference? Aseder mitzad mitzius oilam. If you come from the perspective of the world, which is writing a document, so we have to put, writing a document means it's a star, it's part of the world, seder oilam. So mitzad, the world, the way it works is first niflois and then arenu. Niflois arenu. Why? Ki mitzad mitzius oilam. If you come from the perspective of the world, those miracles are niflois. It's not something we have a day-to-day, Monday, regular life, and when we have such great miracles, it's not something that we're able to see it. How do we have? So first, it's niflois. It's not something. It's a big wonder that we don't even see it. The isgalus of it, the revelation of that miracle, al yedei peulo miuchedes the arenu. It's the Eibishter making the arenu. The Eibishter makes us be able to see it. The Eibishter is showing it to us. So this is milamato lamailo. So we have first it's niflois. It's something that we're not able to see, and it's a wonder higher than our understanding. And the Eibishter makes the arenu so we can see it. And then we have the way it's from milamailo lamato. V'aseder mitzad haTorah. How is it written in the Pasuk? The Novi says, the Lashon HaKosov is Arenu Niflois. It starts with Arenu. Shemelchatchilo yeshno agilui de Niflois, shelamayla migidri yoilam. It's the Eibishter comes and says, Arenu. The Eibishter starts saying, I'll show it. Because from the Eibishter's perspective, there's nothing impossible. The Eibishter comes and shows us the miracles. So we have this way and we have that way. We have Niflois Arenu and Arenu Niflois. There's an advantage in this and there's an advantage in this one. What says the Rebbe? There is V'yesh bozeh ma she'ein bozeh. Each one has an advantage. Why? Arenu Niflois, if it comes milamayla lamata, the Eibishter shows us, so the Eibishter can show us a higher level. Misgalis darge nalis yoyse belekus. Aval agilui b'yikar milamayla. It's only the Eibishter revealing it to us. V'loi mitzad gidrei atachtem, but it's not that we were able to get to it. So much it's not, we're not so much involved, it's not taking us so much, it's just that the Eibishter showing it to us milamayla. Then when we have niflois arenu, so we're not reaching so high, arei ze mitzad gidrei atachtoin, aval lo misgalis dargos elikus shelamaylo legamre me'olam. That level of elikus that is completely higher than the world, we're not able to have the revelation of that level of elikus, because it starts with niflois and then arenu, because if it comes from our avoide, so a person is limited, there's so much that he can reach and so much that can be revealed to him. Says the Rebbe that the shleimus is when we have both together. A shleimus ha'amitis hi betziru shneim gam yachad, when we have both things together. That from one end, it's going to be niflois arenu niflois, meaning שמסגלס דרגס הליכוז שלמיילו לגמרי מהעולם, that the revelation will be that level of הליכוז that is completely higher than the world, and then at the same time יחד עם זה נמשכס וחוידרס ונאסיס מצד גדרי העולם, that the Eibishter makes it in a way that yes, it's a revelation that is higher than הליכוז, and then finally it also gets penetrated in the world and the person is able to connect to it with his own koiches. We'll turn to the next page, page 16. The last two oases of the Sikhe, where the Rebbe is saying, is giving it over to us. Al pi ha'omer le'il, al dvar adgoshas inyan ha'geula, b'zman hazeh, says the Rebbe. So the Rebbe went on in that Sikhe, explaining how special the year is. Niflois arenu niflois, it's a year that the Eibishter shows us so much wonders, and then the Rebbe went on to explain the month ניסן, and then the inyan of Sfiras HaOmer, and then says the Rebbe, in such a time, such an auspicious time, which the Rebbe built it up the entire Sikhe, showing how special the time is, so we have this great wonder, not looking on regardless of all these special things that we have, עדיין לא יפועלו ביאס משיח צדקנו בפועל ממש, that we didn't accomplish yet the ביאס משיח צדקנו בפועל ממש, דבר שאינו מובן כלל וכלל, that's something that is completely not understood. But me and Yosef says the Rebbe, there's another wonder. First of all, the first wonder is how come it didn't happen yet, and the second thing is shemisasfim asoro miYisrael beyachad, the 10 Yidden coming together, and kamo Assyrians, more than 10 Yidden, many Assyrians, ubizman zakai b'negel lagul, it's a special time, it's chodesh ניסן, and all of that. Ve'af al pikein eino mar'ishim lifoel bias HaMashiach teikef hamiyad, and we're not sturming that we want to have and be poel bias HaMashiach right away. Ve'loi mufrach etzlom, and when we gather together, it's like, okay, לא מופרח עצם רחמנא ליצלן שמשיח לא יבוא בלילה זה, וגם מחר לא יבוא משיח צדקנו, and even it's not going to happen today, not going to happen tomorrow, וגם מחרתיים לא יבוא משיח צדקנו, in 2 days רחמנא ליצלן. Says the Rebbe that we do say Ad Mosai, but it's like the Rebbe said we should say Ad Mosai, we say Ad Mosai. גם כשצועקים Ad Mosai, הרי זה מפני הציווי וכולו. ואילו, says the Rebbe that if we would really say Ad Mosai with האמס, אילו היו מסכוונים, ומבקשים וצועקים באמס, בוודאי ובוודאי שמשיח כבר היה בו. Says the Rebbe, מה עוד יכולני לעשות כדי שכל בני ישראל ירעישו ויצעקו באמס ויפעלו להוביס המשיח בפועל? What else can I do? לאחרי שכל מה שנעשה הדעת לא יהועיל, whatever I did until now, says the Rebbe, it didn't help. והוראי שנמצאים עדיין בגולוס, that we're still in גולוס, ועוד ועיקר בגולוס פנימי בענייני עבודת השם, that when it comes to עבודת השם, we're in a גולוס פנימי, in עבודת השם, a person with his עבודת השם, we're still in a גולוס פנימי, that everyone can think for himself. הדבר היחידי שיכולני לעשות, the only thing, says the Rebbe, that I can do, למסור העניין עליכם, to give it over to you, עשו כל אשר ביכולתכם, do everything that is you in your ability. עניונים שהם באופן דאוירס דתויו, these are things, משיח, עניונים of אוירס דתויו, high revelations, אוירס דתויו, אבל בכלים דתיקון, to bring it down in a way that people can relate to. להובי בפועלס משיח צדקנו תקף ומיד ממש. And then the Rebbe said that he wants, there should be 10 people that will be stubborn and say that they must be poel by the Eibishter to have the Geula. V'yehi rotzen shesof kol sof yimotzu asora miYisrael sheyisakshu, they will be stubborn. 10 people shemuchochim lifel etzel HaKadosh Baruch Hu ubevada yifalu etzel HaKadosh Baruch Hu k'meshekasu ki am ksheoirefu. It says that Yidden are a stubborn nation, so we're going to do the right thing, being stubborn, asking the Eibishter for the Geula, and then v'salachto laveinenu l'chatzaseinu n'chaltonu, the Eibishter will forgive us and give us the Geula la'ovi b'poiles ha'geula amitis v'ashleim etekev miyad mamish. Now the last ois of this sikha, says the Rebbe, I will give everyone a shlichus of tzedakah, to give tzedakah, that's something I can still do. Ukedei lemayro lazareis oid yoiser al dei ha'peula sheli oisif ואתן לכל אחד ואחד מכם שליחוס מצווה ליתן לצדוקה וגדוי לצדוקה שמקרב את הסגולה. ואני את שלי עשיתי, the Rebbe says, I did already my part. ומכאן ולהבא תעשו אתם כל אשר ביכולתכם, you should do everything that you can, that is in your ability. And then the Rebbe, at the end of the Sikha, the Rebbe says that there should be 1, 2, or 3 people that should give advice what to do, how to do, ויהי רוצן שימוצא מכם אחד, 2, 3, שיתקסו עצו, מה לעשות וכיצד לעשות, things that we can come up and things that we can do. ועוד והוא העיקר, שיפעלו שתהיה הגאולה האמיתית והשלמה בפועל ממש, we should have the גאולה האמיתית והשלמה, ומתוך שמחה וטוב לבב. So that was the conclusion of this Sikha. A week, there was the Sikha was on Thursday night, and then Shabbos was Shabbos Parshas Shmini, a very geschmacked Sikha, but the Rebbe addressed some parts of what is relevant to the Sikha of Koyach ניסן. The week after, the Rebbe spoke a Sikha of Shabbos Tazriya Metzoiro. It was Perek Shlishi in Pirkei Avos, and starts off saying, Rebbe Yomer Ezi Derech Yeshora Sheyovel LaYodam. What is the proper way so a person should choose for himself? And the Rebbe is asking, what does it mean? Every person can choose himself a way. How is it that everyone can choose his own way? The Rebbe went on in that Sikhe greatly explaining why Mashiach is called Metzoiro, as if we're missing names for Mashiach. Mashiach is called a Metzoiro. And the Rebbe explained from Chassidus that it's a very high revelation of a Likus that comes, and it shows on the Chitzonius, Metzoiro is Mashiach's name in the time of Golus, in time of Golus. And the Rebbe explained that Mishnah, saying that the Rebbe said, what is the Derech HaYeshoro? The Rebbe connected it with Mashiach. It's a week after that Sikh. The Rebbe connects it with bringing Mashiach. The Rebbe says, we have many ways of how we can bring Mashiach, but there is one way that is, if we choose ways, we want to find the best way. For us, says the Rebbe, what is the best way, the straight way to bring Mashiach? And the Rebbe says, based on also the Sfira Soima that was on that Shabbos, it was Malchus Shebetiferes. So the Rebbe says, what is Malchus? Malchus is the king. A king, everything has to go his way. It says in the Gemara, Omar Malke Okar Ture. We have a mountain, and the king says, we uproot the mountain, we put it somewhere else. We don't break away the mountain, but we move it somewhere else, meaning it's the idea of Isapche, a person can change himself. And then the Rebbe says, that's the union of a melech. The entire Am, everything is depending really on the king. The king, everything depends on the king. So the Rebbe says, what is Tiferes? Tiferes is the idea of Torah. It says, it's known in Chassidus, Tiferes is the idea of Torah, and the Rebbe said, Malchus Shebetiferes is the union of learning Torah. Malchus is, Tiferes is Torah, Malchus is the king, and Malchus Shebetiferes is the union of learning Torah in these concepts of Mashiach and Geula. Whoever wants to learn more parts in this, it's a part of the copy. This copy is a part of the Sikhe, but we're going to go to on page 118. The Rebbe says, what is it that we actually, the Poel Mamesh, what the Rebbe wants us to do? Val shel Poel Bossi, the Rebbe says, Le Poel Mamesh, what the Rebbe wants we should do. Whoever wants can go back to the page before, it explains more in details how the way what the Rebbe wants us to learn. But the Poel Mamish, the Rebbe says, we should publicize it everywhere. Kedei lifoil is galus abias Mashiach take from Miyad, in order to bring about the revelation and the coming of Mashiach immediately. Al kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael. So it's for every Yid or Anoshim, men in Yoshve Oil, people that are learning Torah, ve'in Bali Esek, both people that are in business. Yisachar, Zvulun, v'chein anoshim v'atav. The Rebbe says also for women and for Taf, the little kids, kol chad v'chad lefum shiur delay, for everyone according to his, whatever he can, in his level. Lo isif belimud HaTorah, to add in limud HaTorah, especially b'inyonei Mashiach u'geula. And then the Rebbe says that learning should be, and the Rebbe will explain why, that learning should be happening borabim. It should be 10 people together at least learning it, when we learn in Yonah Gul Mashiach, the next paragraph. Umat Toiv, says the Rebbe, Shalimud Yiyeh Ba'asora. It should be borabim, Ba'asora, 10 people. Why? First of all, says the Rebbe, Noisaf Alamayle Da'asora, Sheyoshim Vayiskim Ba'Torah Shechina Shruya B'neim. When we have 10 people, you have the Shechina there, that's one. But when it's coming to learning this concept of Mashiach, it's a different story. Yesh Maile Miוחדת כשלא עומדים עניין Mashiach וגאולה ברבים. When we learn עניין Mashiach and Geula ברבים, then it brings the Ispalus and Simche ברגש הלב. The Simche, when we learning about something that we're yearning for 1900 or more than 1900 years, and we're learning about it, and together it brings a feeling of Simche. שעל ידי זה או ילחס וגדל או השתוקקות והציפייה לביאת המשיח, brings up and boosts up the yearning for Mashiach. We'll finish off with one footnote, 119 on the bottom. Velochein, says the Rebbe, even those that want to learn privately because they want to dwell into it more and be learning more be'iyun, they should also join the shir. Velochein, gam eile sheroitzim lilmoid be'iyun v'shakle v'tarye, those who want to go deep ועד לחדש חידוש התורה בעניין המשיח וגאולה. They want to write a lot of chidushim, and that takes lots of concentration. They can't just do it with a lot of people together, and they do want to do it mitoch menucha v'yishuv hadas in a quiet way. Al yedei alimud la'atzmoi b'chavrusa. It's going to learn with one person or perhaps with one chavrusa. Says the Rebbe that even they yishtadlu mizman lezman, from time to time they should be mishtatev also in the limud ba'asoro. When it's 10 people together, they should still join. Kedei sheyeh etzlom gam ha'maile she'al yedei limud ba'asoro. So they also can have the maile, the advantage of what comes out from learning ba'asoro. So this is just a few inyanim from here. There was another sikha in Parshas Bolok a few weeks later, where the Rebbe explained, was in Tammuz, where the Rebbe said that we're already standing on the threshold of Geula, on the threshold of Geula. So then we have to start living and get a different perception of things that are happening in the world. So by learning in Yonah Geula Mashiach, the Rebbe says it helps us to live a Mashiach-dike life and see things in a different way. So this is, there's actually a younger man, there's a younger man in Eretz Yisrael, his name is Meni Sasson. He put together a few inyanim. He's writing a lot of articles in Mashiach and how to see things in the world, how it connects with Mashiach. And he put together what is so special about learning Yonah Geula Mashiach. So he brought from a few sichos of the Rebbe of how we can, what is the inyan of learning in Yonah Geula Mashiach. So he brought like 10 points of explaining that. And then he also wrote an article, 7 reasons why to learn, especially the sichos of the last year, the sichos of the Rebbe, what we call the Dvar Malchus, the sichos of Nun Aleph and Nun Beis. And one of them is, one of those things, we mentioned it once, they prepared us, after the Rebbe said this sikha, they prepared a sefer called, I think, Psura Sagula. And when they gave it into the Rebbe, I think in the month of Iyar, and the Rebbe kept it for a while, and then in winter, Tafshin and Beis, the following year, the Rebbe gave it out, and the Rebbe writes like this: Be'im lo yoitzi lo'oir adayin, if they didn't give it out yet, lo oisif oid mika'anal l'shon hazu. I think the Rebbe also wrote over there mohir, that like express this. So the Rebbe, they prepared whatever the chibur, they had it ready in the summer still. In the summer of Tafshin and Aleph, they gave it into the Rebbe, that the Rebbe should give the okay to print those sichos as a sefer. Sichos about Mashiach. The Rebbe kept it all these months until winter. And the Rebbe says, if they didn't give it out yet, they should add all the sichos, they should add from the sichos that was spoken in this year of that. To say that the Rebbe, in other words, the Rebbe is telling us, when you learn in Yonah Geula Mashiach, there's also special sichos from now that you should be, that's one thing. And then a second point, there's 7 points that he brings, why we should learn special, to have an emphasis on the sichos of the last year. He brings from a sicha that the Rebbe said in Vayera Tov Shemem Zayin, a small part, that in the beginning, the Rebbe says that in the beginning of the Nesius of a Rebbe, you still see the impact and the ashpoe of the Nosi, the Nosi that was before, the Rebbe that was before. And then as time goes on, Kechol shenichnosim yoser v'yoser b'inyan hanesius, the more the Rebbe goes into more time into his nesius, that is Rebbe, azay misgalis yoser o yisofe v'achidush hamiyuched shel nosi zeh. As it goes on, when it's later into the years of the nesius of the Rebbe, earlier in the nesius, it's more, you still see a lot of the nosi of before, and then when it comes later is more the 7 points. Perhaps if we'll have a sponsor, we'll put some copies in the shul here of this in Yonim, so whoever wants to take a look. The Rebbe says that it should be 1, 2, or 3 letakis eitzer to give an idea. Being that I had the schus to be with Shir here past couple of years, Sunday night. So I would like to mention, the Rebbe said clearly in the Sikha and in a few more Sikhas mentioned later on in the summer, later on, to learn in Yonah Gula Mashiach. So perhaps would be an idea. The Rebbe wants we should learn Ba'asora. So whoever can be mishtatif mizman lazman, Tova Yolav Brocha, Adarabba, V'Adarabba, the Rebbe says it's going to bring more simcha and more anticipation for Geula. At the same time, perhaps would be an idea, maybe it doesn't work for everyone to come Sunday night to this shir. So one thing I would suggest, one idea can be if someone wants to be ma'areg in another shir, and another day, a different shul, a different place, that's one idea. And another thing can be, so today we have Zoom, we have WhatsApp, we have family gatherings. Some people have a family gathering once in a while. Können wir machen once in a month, once in 2 weeks. Machen etwas once in a week. Nehmen ein Indien und die Mishpoche oder a Kvutze of Chaverim. This is your clique. Sometimes you don't feel comfortable coming to a certain place, but you can have your own shir, your own clique. Und man macht das Shir und Riker ist das sein, wie es Mashiach Tzidkeinu, Bepoel Mamesh, Steke vom Yad Mamesh, L'chaim, L'chaim. Schwer.
Shkoyach. Chaim. Action is more than words, and I we have to see that everybody should make an effort to come and learn Yonah Mashiach Gula Borabim. As the Rebbe said, it's a Yeroah, it's a Bakosha from the Rebbe, and there's no doubt that everybody wants to do something for the Rebbe. So it's very important that everybody should be started. As Chaim said, we have other ideas. And I want to say thank you to Rav Menachem Mendel. You were saying today, Azoli Geber, Moledes, and everybody should say Chaim can be
noch ein Nakude. Just one more Indian. For people that would like to learn in Yonah Gula Mashiach, there are many Sforim today available, many Sforim. One of the very special Sforim that is recommended, Sunday night we were learning it for a couple of years, and we learned most of this Sefer. It's called In Yonah Shel Mashiach by Rabbi Wolf from Eretz Yisrael. He put together an amazing Sefer that he literally took from many Sichos of the Rebbe and went in. It's really organized, a lot of the basics, going through a lot of Inyanim and in a very clear language, summarizing it, and it brings the Mekoiros. So that's one Sefer, very amazing Sefer for people that want to go in a Seder Mesuda, not having to look in many Sforim. There's more Sforim. There's the Sefer Bar Malchus here, up there, explaining the last Prokim in the Rambam about Mashiach. And here is a very interesting Sefer out of many Sforim that are out there in Yonah Mashiach. There was a young man, Olav Shalom, Reb Salman Notik, a Mashpia in Eretz Yisrael, the Almalichtik in Gan Eden, and the Bekor Mamesh, Trias HaMeisim. He made a very special Sefer. They put together from what he was writing about Mashiach. He took many Inyanim and he brought it down in a very practical way, and the way it's in part of the Sefer is done in this way, that he takes an Inyan and he shows how do we see it in the Golusdike glasses, and then he shows, now let's take the Geula perspective, and he goes many Inyanim to show how you can see Inyanim in one way, and what is the way that the Rebbe is helping us to open our eyes and see, because really by the end of the day it's a lot of things happening the same. If a person going down the street and if he's under pressure, so everything, the same events happening, affects him in a different way. So he brings many Inyanim about giving tzedakah, about many Mizachen. One of my kids was in Crown Heights and called me from the store asking which sefer can I get for you. So we made a video call. I saw this. So l'chaim, so Zay Mashiach now.
Shkoyach, everybody should say l'chaim. And most important, what Hisvadus can do, we know that it's a Shkoyach, so when we do it together, we will all be Zoiche, we sing the revelation of the Rebbe, take it from Yad Mamesh, we will see if you are the name of Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Moed. Again, I praise Dank to Menachem Mendel for the Verweisen, for the Verbringen, for Zole Goybe, for Yom Moledes, which is Koyach, Wissen. Was? Mendel soll gefordert. Mendel, du bist doch ein größer Gott, so.
erzähl am meisten mit Pfzoin. Erzähl am meisten mit deinem Pfzoin, nu? Poel mamish mit Pfzoin meisten, nu?
We all know that Mendel is very much involved in the mitzvah time and Miksoim, and he has stories, action, the Peil Mamesh, how he brings in the Inyan from the Rebbe. Amen, das ist das Meister. Sag mal, das stimmt doch nicht. Der Regel uns recht zu hören. Also wie wir haben noch den Vetter von der Vater Simcha, Vetter auf Zusche, Tobe Chaim, ja schon zu halten mit allen Broches.
Vaya la, vaya la, vaya la la la, vaya la la la, la la la, la la la,
חיים, ברוך ועל יידל. Bana Chaim was in a big of Sheikh now. And that's it, the girls taking me on the rush.
Amen.
Hab ניסן שתק sein das Galus של ממש. Gott ist beklar.
חיים.
Maybe just as a piece of information. After that Sikha, the Rebbe said that we should get together with Takis Eitzah. So there was a Sikha here in Montreal. Shluchim, the light. And since the Rebbe said we should be Mitake Seitzer, so everybody felt that we have to suggest something. In fact, the suggestion that came from Mונטריאול was then the Indian for limit in Yanagula Mashiach, which the Rebbe spoke later that this is the Yeshua. Could be many people had thought of that, but the fact is that from Mונטריאול came that particular Hatzor. Just interesting. I think it's an interesting piece of information that somehow Mונטריאול was always a little bit on the forefront of Inyan Miftzeh Mashiach, as what's his name when he was here, when they were here actually. Chaim Gutnik and Rabbi Chagrona, when they traveled around the world to speak to Rabbonim around the world about signing the Psak Din, the Rebbe's Becheskes Moshiach. So for those who remember, Chagrona spoke, there was a big gathering across the street, and in his particular way of speaking, he never needed a mic, by the way. So he said, there's three mems. The Moshiach, Melbourne, and Montreal. Right? So it's interesting that this Hatzah, I mean, again, as I said, I don't say that this is the only word, but the Rebbe did speak about this. Ronnie, you were there? Remember that, right? I don't remember what time in the morning we sent it, but it was after quite a few hours sitting, and the Poel, that was the consensus that this should be sent as Hatzah. in the time when I was in 770, there was like a very odd individual, a bacher, a Tomim. He was really keeping all the Sdorim Nigler Sidis, very, very meticulous in everything. But he had some shugayas. At that time was definitely a complete exception. Today, maybe unfortunately not so much. But although by Tmimim, yes, but still. He was sitting in 770 and he shaved his beard. Nobody understood it. He learned Chassidus and he learned Nigle and he came to the Fabrengens, Kochzach. But he had these Mishugais. And anybody who spoke to him, you were never able to get an explanation from him. Never get an answer, whatever it was. The Anholis HaYeshiva would then go into Yechidus to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe they were discussing about Bachir, whatever they were discussing, whatever the Rebbe discussed with them. At one time, the Rebbe told the Anholis they should see to it, Ashpiyah Zayin of den Bacher, he should stop shaving his beard. But the Rebbe said, but not to mention that it's coming from him. We shouldn't even mentioning that it's coming from the Rebbe. Toil sein bei him, we must be on him that he should stop shaving the beard, but fine. Then it was the next day, the following day, David Raskin was one of the members of the Anola, was in Yechidus, and he was the one who had apparently more shaykhs with his bacher. So we started talking to him. All the different things. Are you talking? And it's appropriate. It's just not appropriate for a Tomim to shave the beard. With all the reasons what there is. After Reb David finished giving him his entire speech, he turns around to Reb David and says, I know that the Rebbe doesn't think I should have a beard. I know that the Rebbe doesn't necessarily want me to have a beard. Based on what do you say that? She says, I was in Yechidus many times. At that time, every bacher would go into Yechidus, Yom Haledes. I was in Yechidus many times. The Rebbe told me a number of things that I should do, and the Rebbe never mentioned I should have a beard. So Veisach has, I don't have to. If I would have had to, now Rebbe is stuck. He can't tell him it's coming from the Rebbe. And teinet that the Rebbe will halt mich also da von my beard. Garnish. So that was more or less the end of the conversation. The following month, we were back in Yechidus, and the Rebbe asked, again, I know there was don't know the words, but the Rebbe inquired about, it's obvious that he hasn't changed because he's still shaving. It's a month later and he's still shaving. So Reb David told the Rebbe the whole conversation. Teinet as the Rebbe halt mich das enough on my boat. So the Rebbe told the Hanola, told Reb David, and said, Ich will doch, as es soll sein Board, nicht mein Board. In other words, if he's going to do it because I tell him, it's mein Board. The Rebbe says, Ich will es sein Board, nicht mein Board. This is, I think, it's quite obvious that this is what the Rebbe says in the Sikh over here too. Me schreit at Mosai. Aber schreit man at Mosai mit Zeit at Zivui. Und wie bald me hey, schreit at Mosai, schreit man at Mosai. Was sagt der Rebbe? Who is screaming that Mosai? Are we screaming that Mosai or the Rebbe schreit that Mosai? If we're doing it because the Rebbe tells us to do it, it's nicht mein at Mosai. In other words, I just do what I'm supposed to do, but I don't feel it. I don't live it. It's not my scream. It's not my demand. It's not my desire. It's not my necessity. It's the Rebbe. So the Rebbe nicht das will man von uns. Because when we see the Sikha, remember right after this, everybody was shocked, and for months And people still go around. I don't understand that. Verstehe nicht. And since I verstehe nicht, is a good teretz of gar nicht gestorben. Right? That's usually, this question is more of an excuse than a question. But the Rebbe, I think, the Rebbe says things very, very clear in the Sikha. Because there is no person who would think that the Rebbe is asking us to do something that he can't do. There's nobody in this, unless Beshuften Askinan, that will understand about us. The Rebbe sagt, ich habe schon alles getan, and there's nothing more that I can do, now you do it. In other words, there's something that you can do that I can't do. I mean, what does that mean? Right? If there's anything that anybody can do, it's the Rebbe. What means there is something that we can do that the Rebbe cannot do? And then interesting, after the Rebbe says in the Sikha, there's nothing more left for me to do. I have done everything and I can't do anything. Then the Rebbe says, the one thing that I can still do is give you tzedakah. Kannst du yotze, kannst du nicht. I mean, you just said there's nothing more for you to do. There's nothing more that I can do. And then the Rebbe says, yes, the only thing that I can still do is give you tzedakah. So the Chiyot, that's something that you can do. What did you just say a moment ago that there's nothing to do? But the Rebbe is saying something very simple. I prepared the whole world for the Geulah. I brought you the Geulah. I brought you to understand and to appreciate and to recognize and to know what this is all about. But I want you to want it. I cannot want for you that the Geulah should be something that you are screaming, that Admosai is your Admosai, not Mitzad HaTzibur, but it is something that you want. Ich kann nicht wählen von dir. This is something that I cannot do. And I think that this is what the Rebbe is saying, and this is what the Rebbe is demanding, and this is what the Rebbe is giving us koiches. What it means, I'm going to give you koiches for you to be able to do that. But ultimately, we have to do it. And this is what the Rebbe is waiting 35 years since this Sikha, if we think about it. And the Sikha is obviously as relevant today as it was then. And it's something that one has to live with continuously, because this is the moment where the Rebbe made every single one. There are a lot of words in the Sikha, in the printed Sikha that was taken out from the actual Sikha. When you hear it, they made it a little bit softer. The Rebbe didn't say Lahoyel, the Rebbe said Lahevel Velorik. There were all kinds of expressions, very, very strong and frightening expressions. So the Rebbe is waiting for us today, just like he expected from us then, that the Inyan HaMoshiach should be something which is real. Right? And the Rebbe says, "There's ein eine was meint das mit an Emes." We know that by the Alter Rebbe, as you do it, that the Alter Rebbe lost, wie gesagt, wird nicht hereingelegt, der Mina, der Wede muss sein bei Emes, wird gehabt noch 50.000 Chassidim. Right? It's easy. A bisschen Streimen and a Beckett and a bisschen bluffing is very easy. You know, that's but the Eben Mont, a bisschen Emes, that's a little bit more difficult. And says the Rebbe says the same thing over here. Moshiach is Emes. Moshiach is real. Sheker and Emes do not go together. So if it's not Emes, and what means Emes? It's a problem. Emes is a tough job. I remember once by Sheikh Sidis, Saul Jacobson, Zem Semtim, Flegema Sheikh Sidis Amal. And Saul Jacobson liked to ask questions and expecting us to give the wrong answer and then to give the right answer. So we already knew when he's asking a question, don't answer, because it's not what he's going to want. So I remember what he said once, and Reb Saul, for those who remember him, thanks to Reb Saul Jacobson, used to speak as a Yiddish, as a schwer Yiddish. Azach, was is 99.99% Emes. What's he does? We knew not to answer. So he waited, nobody answered, because we knew what it was is a 100% sheker. Right? If it's 99.99% emes, it's not emes. And if it's not emes, it's 100% sheker. So the Rebbe is demanding from us something which is very difficult. Not sfas emes, not almost through poilmamish emes in ganzen. In other words, that we should live up to the koiches that the Rebbe gives us, and the Rebbe goes through the Sikha here Chav Zayin, how it's connecting every day. Es ist immer gespringen. Eine ganze Page für die ganze Sicher. Chav Zayin, und dann noch Chav Ches, und dann noch Chav Tes. Wie das ist Chav Zayin ist Sache, Boy, es darf leichten, und das ist Koyach, und das ist 3x3, der Chazoke 3x3, und der Rebbe Schreidisch im Kippakotten, und am ersten Tag Schreidisch, zweiten Tag Schreidisch, und danach weiter Beis hier. The Rebbe goes all this with Lechatchila Riba. How all these days are all about Geula Mashiach, and the most powerful energy, the most powerful Geuladik energy, which is, Zog the Rebbe, tap into it. It's here. I'm telling you what this energy is. I'm telling you what the Gilo is. I'm telling you what this Galus is all about. So, it's the Rebbe it's completely incomprehensible that we still don't get it. It's time for us to get it. It's time for us to scream with the Rebbe Zok and the shrine the Geula mit Anemes. There's another Nekuda here. Why do we want the Geula? Do we want the Geula because famous story, the guy with the bank, right? Everybody knows the story. The guy was going in, he got the invested money in the bank, and he didn't understand much about banking, but anyway, every year he would come and sign to renew his investment. One year, a battle in Dortmund, somewhere in Yerushalayim, from the Yerushalayim Koilelite. And one year, he said, after he met with the banker, everything is okay, etc. Fine. Then he asked him, can I remove my money from this bank? It's your money, you can do what you want. What do you want to do? I want to put it into another bank. How do you do this? Do I have to carry it on? He said, no, we can transfer it, open an account in another bank, and we transfer. Okay, he does like this. He gets right to learn. 3 months later, the bank that he took out the money from went bankrupt. The manager of this bank came to this hill. How did you know? Nobody in the banking business knew that he's having difficulties. So he got impressed. Maybe this guy is Pashtep Satzadik with Ruach HaKodesh. You know, today besucht me Babas and Chachomim and alle Sachen. So he said, Hefshe, the Fanaye Baba, we can get some betten Brochus, etc. So he went over to me and says, how did you know that I went bankrupt? He said, what's bankrupt? What are you talking about? How did you know? Why did you take the money out of my bank? I knew there was problems. How did you know there was problems? Because I've been coming to years to you, and every year you tell me, Baruch Hashem, everything is great, the bank is doing good, wonderful. This year told me the same thing. But at the end you said, no, Mashiach darf schon kommen. Adu darf schon Mashiach is a siman atzitzalas, right? If you are asking for Mashiach, when you're telling me about your business, it's a sign that you're having problem in the business. Sag der Rebbe nicht auf dem darf Mashiach. Darf Mashiach mitzad dem Emes for Mashiach. So there's two things in this emes that the Rebbe demands. Number one, we should really want it, and we should want it for the right reasons. We should want Mashiach Babos, weil sich schrimmt the Galus, wie der Rebbe sagt. The Rebbe is in Galus, the Rebbe is in Galus, and we want to have Gilelekus, davon Moller und Zes Hashem, Kamaim na Yom Chasim. So this is Chav Ches ניסן. So Chav Ches ניסן is also, it's not a date. I've said it already a million times, I heard it from a good friend, unfortunately, Oliver Sholem. From Rebitche Vilshansky. I overheard him saying, somebody came over, there was a Gimel Tammuz in 770. And the Bacher comes over to him and says, Harav Vilshansky, ma ze ha-tarich Gimel Tammuz? What's the date of Gimel Tammuz? I was standing in the back, they didn't see that I'm listening in. And Harav Vilshansky tells him, Gimel Tammuz ze lo tarich. Nothing happened. It's not a day. Tarikh means what? It's a 24-hour event. Those 24 hours you focus on it. It says Gimel Tammuz is not a date, a one day. Gimel Tammuz is a change of life. Gimel Tammuz is every day of your day. This is a moment that your whole life has to be transformed and think differently. There's no question about it. It's the same thing about Chav Ches ניסן. Chav Ches ניסן is just not a 1 hour or 2 hours or 24 hours that we think about it. This is a moment that the Rebbe changed us all. That the Rebbe told us, he made each and every one of us his shluchim. What does it mean, The Rebbe made Anoshim, V'noshim, V'tav, every Jew around the world, Ubefrat Chsidim, he made us all his shluchim, and gives the koiches as a mishoneach for what? As it says, to bring about B'poil Mamish, the Gula. So this is our task. And this has to be done, as the Rebbe says, B'simcha. The Rebbe speaks about Shabbos, Erev Yom Kippur Cotton, but the Yom Kippur Cotton is B'simcha, and doing it B'simcha, and with the full emunah that the Rebbe is here with us, that the Rebbe is Chai V'Kayam, and the Rebbe is giving us the koiches to do it today. So we just got to, it's Ikvese de Meshicha, right? So on a very light note, one of the most successful shoe companies that take care of our akavayim, of our feet, is Nike. Eh? What is Nike's slogan?
Just do it.
Just do it. And this is what the Rebbe is demanding from us. You just got to do it, but do it in the right way. L'chaim, l'chaim, yechia b'neinu, v'reinu v'rabbeinu, melech HaMashiach, yelam v'ed.